is a country that allows everybody to express their views, but using any event as an excuse for violence is contrary to rule of law and contrary to who we are.
All right, this is an interview, folks, as we welcome you to Give Me Five from about a week ago. And I wanted to get to it because in some parts of it, as you just heard, the president actually acts like a president and makes sense. But that doesn't last too long. But another area where he did make sense, he's talking about, he's asked about John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, who, you know, refers to the Ferguson as Emmett Till and all this. You've heard Emmett Till comparisons from Jesse Jackson, not only to this case, but also to Trayvon Martin, which is, it's almost blasphemy. It's outrageous in my view. Here's what the president had to say about that.
Part of what I've asked Eric Holder to do is to not just engage with the folks in Ferguson, but to engage nationally in a conversation between law enforcement and communities of color that oftentimes feel as if they are not being treated fairly by law enforcement officials. Sometimes their concerns are justified. Sometimes they're not justified. Law enforcement has a very tough job.
Law enforcement has a tough job. He still, mind you, he still can't bring himself to say, don't hit a cop. But here's more.
We saw during the summer the possibility of even overwhelmingly peaceful crowds being overrun by a few thugs. What I've done is called Jay Nixon, the governor of Missouri, to make sure that he has a plan to respond in a careful and appropriate way to any potential violence, to be able to sort out the vast majority of peaceful protesters from the handful who are not.
Yeah, the knuckleheads. I'm sure you and Van Jones talk on the phone regularly, Mr. President. Yeah, the few knuckleheads who riot, who burn stores, who loot, who throw Molotov cocktails. They're knuckleheads. You can't sort out. I mean, see, here's where the president goes radical, and everything else he said to that point goes out the window. What do you mean you expect the police to sort out the few, you know, the few troublemaking knuckleheads from the vast majority? First of all, it was not the vast majority of folks in Ferguson who were peaceful. That's number one. Number two, when you have a crowd of hundreds or thousands of people and bottles fly and Molotov cocktails fly and stores are looted, how do you pick? Oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. I mean, you can't. It's unrealistic to put that onus on the police. And it's unfair, too, to boot. Here's more from President Obama.
If we do a better job of training our law enforcement to be sensitive to the concerns of minority communities, then over time, trust can be built, in part because minority communities typically are subject to more crime. They need law enforcement more than anybody. And there are a lot of communities in my hometown of Chicago, for example, who actually want to see more police in, but they want to make sure that the police are trained so they can distinguish between a gangbanger and a kid who just happens to be wearing a hoodie, but otherwise is a good kid and not doing anything wrong.
All right. So again, you know, you got to distinguish. Police have to distinguish this. Well, first of all, what he should have said, and in this case, Michael Brown attacked a cop. Okay? Michael Brown attacked a cop. Trayvon Martin, who, of course, if he had a son, would look like him, Trayvon Martin was seen by witnesses attacking and beating the crap out of George Zimmerman. So these aren't just kids walking down the street with hoodies or minding their own business that wind up getting killed. These are troublemakers. These are kids, men. They're men. 18 years old, you fight in the army, you're a man. When an 18-year-old is arrested, they call him a man, an 18-year-old man. But when Michael Brown is referred to, he's a teenager. He's a kid. They have a memorial for him. They have teddy bears there. More from President Obama.
The kinds of ongoing problems we have with police and communities of color around the country are not of the sort that we saw in Selma. We're not talking about...
Right. They're not the same as Selma, which I give him credit for. Newsmax Now updates next.